When you were reading out the lyrics there, I just couldn't help but picture this as an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. The Picard's beamed down and go, "What the hell have we got ourselves into here?"
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, and welcome, willkommen to another episode of Les Audiophiles. My name's John. His name is Andy. Devil and the deep blue sea behind me. Vanish in the air. You'll never find me. I will turn your face to alabaster when you find your servant is your master. More on that later. But we have a track to listen to. Andy, what delights behold us today?
Oh, well, we are going to go back to a band that we've checked out before on this channel, and then I've had you scope out on Into the Music as well. The only curveball here is that it's going to be, I think, the first ever live performance that you've checked out by these guys. I think I had Greg listen to or witness, actually, it's Chris and Greg, watch a live performance of this band before. And it is the Deer Hunter. So we're going to be checking them out again. That's right. Dun dun dun. And the track that I want you to check out is called Filth and Squalor.
Mm-hmm. Right up my alley. Okay, yeah, this will be really, it will be interesting to see them, you
Yes,
know.
all before you played live. So go off, give it a listen, and let us know what you make of it.
Will do, Captain. Here they are. Okay, interesting start. I just want to say, I just got little glimpses there. I don't know where they're playing, but the theatre looks really cool. Okay, let's. And the guys at and that's the first time I've ever seen them. And they're kind of what I expected. Never trust a man with a beard. That's my motto, and I live by it.
Made for the mass by the will of a broken few, guided by the hands of the guilty, praised to secure for a curse, when really this is all catastrophic. We're tethered to the hull of a sinking ship, searching for a breath at the surface, praying for our roads to slip. Oh, soon as the damned would inherit the earth, as soon as they learn to speak, we would be suffering, sucking on the scraps of a wicked well.
Now we're into the song proper. Bass is doing a great job, actually. He's really driving it. I like the way how second to guitar, white guitar, we call him. That's not a racial thing. The guitar is actually white. He's kind of mimicking some of the vocal melody at the end of lines, which is quite nice as well. I liked how he had that sort of Julian Casablancas, AM radio type filter on for the first sort of, I don't know, 4, 6, 8 lines, and then went into his normal voice again. It's nice to have that contrast as well. Cool. This is all very interesting. I'm getting the odd lyrics. I'm trying to write them down, which is a nightmare. It feels again this sort of dystopian society thing, and things aren't right. That's all I'm getting so far. There may be a huge backstory to this. There may not be, but I'm getting the impression that he's definitely painted a scenario anyway. That's cool.
We were bound by need to vicious felony. Tear it down, start again. Erasing every trace so stale scars can mend. And we will see the way things used to be, the way things used to be, the way things used to be. I always knew that the damned would inherit the earth. As soon as they learned to speak, we would be suffering, sucking on the scraps of a wicked.
They did that a little while ago, so sort of almost like a stutter step. It's not a complete stop because I think the guitar's still sustaining through until they go again. It's interesting why they should do that. I have no idea. I just wanted to say his voice, I guess they're all talented guys who can do whatever, but if it's the same guy as before singing, I like his voice. He's got a really good voice. The drummer was doing something like tippy-tapping that almost sounded like it was crunchy. I don't know what he was doing there, but it's very interesting. It wasn't beating on the drums. It wasn't even rim shots. I don't know what it was. But that sounded very cool as well.
Well, we were bound by need to vicious felony.
You have the facts waiting for you.
Tear it down, start again. I always knew that the damned would inherit the earth. As soon as they learned to speak, we would be suffering, choking on the scraps of a wicked.
That's clearly the pivotal moment of the whole song. I really like the sort of stomping breakdown there and the strobe lighting and going for it. That's cool. When they came back in with just the beat singing, I don't know if they put reverb on or not. There's clearly more than one person singing, but it almost sounded for a bit like it was the audience singing as well. And then I wasn't sure. It sounded cool, whatever. Yeah, interesting.
Well, we were bound by need to vicious felony. Now we knew that the damned would inherit the earth. As soon as they learned to breathe, we would be suffering, sucking on the scraps of a wicked well. We were bound by need to vicious felony. Tear it down, start again.
Leave him to retune his guitar. Yeah, that was really interesting. I think as a song, as a standalone, me reacting to it the first time, it was decent. It wasn't anything like mind-blowing. Very competent, obviously. Didn't hook me, though. I think that, without getting into my sort of foibles, but there was inherent drama within this song. There's definitely a narration, which, again, as a casual listener, I got an impression of, but I wasn't completely, bought into the whole thing. So I know from Andy that quite often there's a whole scenario to either the album or a series of albums, even though they're the ones who did all different colors. that represent things. And think if you get into that, then this song really would have more of an impact because you're buying into it, you know, and that's all fair enough. I mean, I know Andy didn't know what to make when I gave him War of the Worlds. He found it almost comical. Again, you know, for me growing up, it was fantastic. So I get all that, and there's, you know, I wonder the way they they did it 3 times, right at the very end and in the middle. That sort of switching back to that voice filter. I wonder if it's to do with the evils of technology, perhaps. I wonder if that symbolizes that or some sort of controlling force within a society. Because I know he said about tear it down and start again. So I don't know about them sort of current not writing. I'll have to decipher that. So about as soon as they learn to speak, will we be suffering? Yeah, so there's obviously some story in there, but yeah, it was really interesting. I guess we'll have to get the whole lowdown by going back and speaking with Andy.
All right, so you've returned from witnessing this live performance of this track off of the Color Spectrum Live, which is this evening where they played the entirety of their sort of concept album called the Color Spectrum, and that is 9 EPs represented by 4 tracks. Each of those 9 EPs represents the colors of the color spectrum, including black and white. So this is off of the black EP, and it is the second track, I believe, of the performance. You've listened to 2 tracks off of the violet EP, which were Mr. Malum on Into the Music and Lillian here on our channel. So this is a bit of a different, I mean, as you can imagine, each of these colors represents a mood or a style of music that they think is emblematic of that color. Violet and black, 2 vastly different colors. I'm wondering if you experienced vastly different sounds from what you experienced with those tracks versus what you got here off of a song off the black EP.
Interesting. First thought when you say that is, you know, obviously you're aware of color blindness, but also color perception can quite easily be different.
Mm-hmm.
So what somebody sees as yellow, somebody else sees as red,
Mm-hmm.
and you will never know
Yes.
what you see. And you associate certain tones or even emotions with color. And, you know, they say about painting gel houses yellow because apparently it calms people down.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see yellow as green, does that still calm you down? Anyway, you know, and how it'd be interesting if what you saw as red, you actually see as purple, but you still associate red with fire and passion. But what you're seeing as purple,
Yeah.
you know, anyway, you can go on forever.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
It's really interesting. Yeah. So I have listened to 4 songs from Deer Hunter, foisted on me by you. And the 2 on Into the Music, Mr. Malum and Old Demons, and then 2 on this channel, Lillian and The Line. Nice. And I have to say, the 2 on this channel, Lillian and The Line, I enjoyed a lot more than I did the other 2. And this is along the same lines. So it was a nice, you know, live performance. It is nice to see them in the flesh finally, and much as I imagined them. And I did say in the action, you know, golden rule is never trust a man with a beard. I live by that. And
as we stand here, two bearded men.
Exactly. So I don't trust you, and I don't trust me. So anyway,
a strong foundation.
Yeah. So we start off with these sonic mutterings from the mothership, before a nice sort of beat comes in, and then quite a funky sort of guitar and bass fill out the sound. And your man starts singing with that sort of 1980s AM radio effect filter, which I don't mind at all. You know,
yeah.
Julian Casablancas got away with it for ages. And he says something about somewhere there's a choice being made, and then I got like broken few and guided by the hands of the guilty, I think. So, as I didn't know at the time, he's painting a scenario here, and I'm not sure if I was missing a backstory. I kind of guessed I was in a way, but it didn't really matter to me that much because I get the overall impression from this beginning and the feel of the music and the way he's singing and the odd words that, you know, as they say, there's trouble mill, that much is clear. So musically, as he's singing this first, like, 8 lines or so, you feel like you're waiting for something to crash. And I'm just thinking this, and lo, we do get some dramatic flourishes from the drum and the bass, and one of the guitars begins its ascent, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And you even get another vocal, I think, joined for a few words. And then just at that point, the vocal filter disappears. And I reckon it's probably about time. It's just the right amount of time for that filter, as it were. And we get the singer's full voice. And he says something about something will inherit the earth. And it's quite a sort of dramatic moment. And it's really well done, to switch from that to that. And he's hammering home that point. I'll call him white guitar. And I did say in the reaction, it's not racist. It's just that's the color of his guitar. He starts playing some matching notes, or some of his notes start to match the ends of lines of the singer, especially when he's stretching out some of the notes as well.
Yes.
And again, it's a nice technique. It's been done many times before, but still, it pleases. So it feels still quite subdued at this point. And I have to say that the bass is providing most of the oomph that's going in. The rhythm section is really good, but particularly the bass. So, of course, as I'm thinking that, they start changing it up, because that's what they do, obviously. So the music drops for a couple of beats, and there's this added in, noise, which is basically, I believe, an industrial canning plant. I recognise those squelches and riveting noises anywhere. And then red guitar hits some really nice notes before they go to this repeated, the way things used to be, the way things used to be. And it's almost like a mantra. And again, not knowing all the context here, I'm getting impressions from this. So after a few more sort of lines, they do this half stutter stop. So it's not a complete stop because the guitars sort of chord sustains through it, and then they carry on. It's like I wouldn't say it's a full beat. It's like a half or three-quarter beat, and then and I had noticed it slightly earlier, but I didn't. Well, it didn't really stand out as much as it did the second time. So then they do another drop down. With added R2D2 sending a fax, apparently. Interesting noises, and then back into the AM radio filters he's singing. So all of this gives me the impressions of well, I'm thinking that the noises and his vocal filter kind of represent some sort of technology. I don't know if that's like development that hasn't, technological development that has worked or gone wrong. It felt like there was some element of like going against a control, maybe a controlling elite. I don't know, but I'm not getting most of the lyrics, but it seems like he's pointing out what's wrong now. Hence it's the way it used to be, which is a refrain that a lot of people always say about, every 10 years or so in this country. But it's really interesting. And then we get tear it down, start again, I think, which again, this is all sort of like, this has all gone vastly wrong. And there's some other stuff as well. But so when he sings that bit, I'm thinking, oh, perhaps I'm onto something here. Probably not, but so then we go into this noisy jam stomping session with added strobe lighting, which I really enjoyed. And it's kind of like the highlight of this song. It's the central bit. And I think it's supposed to indicate some sort of turmoil or even a rising up of like a popular rising. That's what I'm getting musically from that. It may or may not be, but it demonstrates it well. I also said in the reaction, I think I said it earlier as well, at this various points, this is one of the points you get really good shots of the theatre they're playing in, which looks lovely. Really, really nice. Almost impossible to believe something like that exists in America. But there you go.
Thanks, I think. I don't know.
It's just like our village hall. I mean, we all got it in every town, just like that. But anyway, I'm joking. So again, it drops down to just the drums this time. And then you get these anthemic almost vocals. And there's the lines which are like inherit the earth line again. As soon as they learn to speak, we would be suffering, I think he said, something like that anyway, which
Mhm.
again, that's kind of a bit more specific. I don't know if there's some sort of other entity. Yeah, anyway, I don't know, but that's just really interesting. Um, Clearly at this point, there's more than one person singing. But what I don't know if they've put effects on it or not, but it almost sounds like it's the audience joining in as
Yeah,
well. I don't know if it
it
is.
is. Yeah.
Um, it is, but it's not the whole audience. It's probably like a hardcore bit of them.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like 30 people rather than
Yeah.
300 people, which
Precisely.
again, it's weird because it kind of gives a strange dynamic that it's not en masse, but it is slightly mass. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
It's
Just
the difference
that's what
between
drew me.
playing at a festival where everyone's going to join you versus this theater atmosphere where people
Yeah,
are seated for the entirety. So it feels weird to be interactive with a group, but
yeah,
I guess
yeah,
not for 10% of the audience who clearly did
yeah.
join in there. Yeah.
Because you got a tiny shot of them looking forward, and the first couple of rows, you can see people seated, and they're clearly
Yeah.
not joining in.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess the people at the back are feeling more brave because they're not
Yeah.
going to be caught on camera or in the lights, so they're belting it out. So
There you
yeah,
go.
I really enjoyed all of that section actually, from the drop down to the stroby stomp, and then the sort of group singing. So it then goes back into the song proper. They all join in again. And then as it slowly sort of comes to an end, we get a few words back in the vocal field to tear it down, start again. I think he says that
Mhm.
again. And then it finishes. So yeah, I would say overall, as a song, I thought it was decent. It wasn't as good as I thought perhaps Lillian was. That's just beautiful. Um, I don't know if it's the same guy singing on Lillian as this. Probably, but I'm not. I couldn't swear to it. But he's got a decent voice, and it sounds slightly different here as well, which is great. If it's a different guy, then it's even better that he sounds different. Obviously, um, but I think without knowing the whole construct of this narrative, I got that there was something going on with it. Obviously, on one listen, I wouldn't get exactly what it was, but in conveying that there was a story and there are certain elements to it was done very successfully without being heavy-handed as well.
Yeah.
So, and I think I said in the reaction that stuff like this, you either buy into it or you don't. And I think the more you're exposed to it, you become more, you know, indebted into that you can't pull out after
Mm.
about six of these EPs. You're going to buy the rest, so you're an absolute idiot if you don't.
Yes.
And it's sort of you invested is what I mean. Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. So I can completely understand that, and I can see how that works as well. So yeah, I would say this is not the one I've enjoyed the most, but I definitely enjoyed it, and it was better than Mr. Malin. And anyway, which isn't, I'm not to say it's a bad song, it's just not my cup of tea. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the live element to this as well.
Cool, cool, yeah. To be fair, the what's cool about the color spectrum versus some of their other stuff, like what the line is off of, which the line is a beautiful song, but the
Yeah,
line is telling a part of a story that is part of an album that's a story that transcends to multiple albums. This whole story.
yeah,
The color spectrum is just each song stands alone. It doesn't fill in the blanks for a song that came before it, nor does it avail foreshadowing to a song that's about to come. It's its own standalone thing. It's more about, does the song evoke or sound like the essence of the color black? Is there darkness to this song, to this style? And that's what they're doing with the four songs per color.
really.
So really what you noticed is the song. Like, it's about the dynamics of power struggle in a society and how
Right.
you try to overcome it, and then you become the thing that you hated, and all of this, and it just plays itself on repeat. And I'll get into a little bit of that a little
But
bit.
that could easily have a huge backstory.
Totally could. I could easily see why you would think that this ties into a larger story, maybe even sci-fi-esque because of like some of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
stuff that they're tapping into. But yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to let you know that you were spot on, and it doesn't transcend to any other larger story being told in this concept album, if you will. But yeah, I'll touch a little bit about the band, and I'll put in the link to the playlist to our other stuff in the description field below. But yeah, the Deer Hunter. They're an American indie progressive rock band originating in Providence, Rhode Island. It began as a side project of Casey Crescenzo, the lead singer, who is the singer in all of the songs that you've heard to this point. Um, it's a little bit different. It's not as flowery and as beautiful as something like The Line or Lillian, because it's got this more visceral industrial sound. But yeah, it's his voice. He was a member of a band called The Receiving End of Sirens, and he started this band as a side project in 2006. And the band's sound features a wide variety of instruments and styles. To this point, you've probably been able to see that they're a bit of a chameleon when it comes to like genre or whatever. Their lineup during this period and on this performance was Casey Crescenzo on lead vocals and guitar, Nick Crescenzo, his brother, on drums, Maxwell Tussaud on, he was sort of doing the keyboard work as well as playing with effects back there next to the drummer. Nick Solicito on bass, Robert Parr on, I believe you called him white guitar, and Connor Doyle. No, that's Connor Doyle that was playing white guitar. Robert Parr was the barefooted gentleman in the black button-down shirt on the other side of the stage. At this point, Connor Doyle has left the band, and actually Maxwell Tussaud has kind of taken over the third guitarist spot, and they've incorporated Aidan Early as their latest and greatest keyboardist who plays with the band. They've released several EPs and 8 full-length albums, many of which are concept albums, as we've discussed before. The largest of these projects is the Acts project, which is a long and harrowing tale of the titular hunter that spans across 5 of the aforementioned full-length albums. And between Acts 3 and 4, the band took a break from the story. And during that break, you would think, oh, you're probably just going to recharge and regroup, take things easy. No, they wrote 2 more albums, one of which was this epic, The Color Spectrum, that is 36 songs in length. Again, all meant to cater to the colors within the color spectrum. And then the other one was Migrant, which is a standalone non-concept album, one of the very few that they've done before they would then go on to release Act 4. So anyway, back to the color spectrum. It's an album that consists of, as I said, 9 4-song EPs, each named after colors of the color spectrum, with the addition of black and white bookending. That's sort of, the Roy G. Biv in between. And this color spectrum influence is the subjectivity of perception, and to a lesser extent, the freedom it affords its viewer. And Casey Crescendo would say on that, anything we think of, we can do. Humanity's idea of colors is too broad, and this sort of ties in what you were sort of jesting about in the beginning, like the perception of color for one may be very different than other. So this needs to be more personal, he says, because ideas of colors vary from person to person. Even for people with synesthesia, the specific images or sounds that they hear attached to colors vary from person to person. And that just reinforces the point of doing the project, to produce our interpretation of color, the way we feel about colors or are inspired by the colors, how we hear them or see them. Subsequent to the release of the color spectrum, the Deer Hunter performed the entire 3-hour set of EPs in a single show and released it as a DVD. I own this. It's a really great watch. And it's entitled The Color Spectrum DVD, and what you watched was footage from that. On Metacritic, the album has earned the score of 81 out of 100. Publications like Absolute Punk, Alternative Press, and Pop Matters awarded the concept album an 89%, 4 out of 5 stars, and 8 out of 10 stars, respectively. Dominic Boehmer of Everything Is Noise wrote the following of the album when introducing his review of it. There are records which are special by virtue of the music contained within them alone. And there are those that are special because they go above and beyond the standard definition of what makes an album to create a unique experience for listeners. The Deer Hunter's The Color Spectrum falls squarely and comfortably in both camps. He would then go on to say, the beauty of the color spectrum is how it is all separate yet together. Each color implies a mood of sorts. White is a very calm and soft sound, while black is heavily distorted and driving. That is the most interesting thing about the colors to me. The mood doesn't make the color helps create the mood. It's the fact that they are already given to us and that makes it so perfect. There is intent in how each of the songs are chosen per color. Violet gives this big band sound to its songs, whilst blue is much more smooth and focused on flow. Yellow has a bouncy, upbeat sound, while indigo is much more electronic and dreamy. And these are sort of all, and you could probably vouch having heard Violet. You get Mr. Malum and Lillian, and it has all this like 20s kind of big band theatrical sound to it. None of that exists on black, nor does it on the other colors as well. So very interesting.
It's really sorry, yeah, I was going to say it's really interesting. You get all these associations with colors that come from all different sorts. So purple is the imperial color that's
Yes,
associated with Roman
royal.
emperors. Green, nature, obviously. Blue, you do think of the sea, but also you think of jazz, Blue
Mm,
Note, all that
yeah,
sort of Miles Davis, blue, definitely a
yeah.
kind of blue. Orange, I think of sunshine, just and the fruits and the sunshine juice and the port of Jaffa or something like that.
Yeah.
And yellow, I instantly think of a fucking clown again. I don't know if we're talking about clowns too much, but so it's really interesting. And then for red is fire and passion and blah blah
Yes.
blah. But
Yes.
these are
And
all sort of things that are reinforced through all different aspects of culture.
yes. Yeah,
It's really
you're absolutely right. And it's cool because like on certain colors, they like orange has this psych rock kind of color, like kind of aspect to
Mhm.
it. I guess because of like, you think tie dyes and bright colors when you think of psychedelics. So orange lent itself to that.
penitentiary
Yeah, yeah,
jumpsuits.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So then you get like chain music, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's funny how they interpret it. Also the red, which is masculine and fiery and passionate, features Andy Hull on co-vocals on all four of the
All right.
Manchester Orchestra. So another cool little aspect to it. So yeah, album of the year featured an extensive review of the album and of this EP in particular. They said, "We begin with Black. This EP begins menacing but brilliant, which kickstarts the whole journey in a perfect way. The EP leans into electronic industrial sounds with a brutal, isolating feel. This EP is aggressive, menacing, inventive, and swaggering." So let's jump into these lyrics right quick. Somewhere
Sorry.
there's. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's interesting. We're just talking about colors, and yeah, obviously, black and white are technically the absence of color and the
Or all color.
totality of color,
Yeah.
and they're really the two colors that have been politically or politicized almost. So blackballing, etc. This
Mhm.
negative thing about black and white, virgin,
Yeah. White
whitewashing,
knighting or
etc.
something like that. Or
Yeah, but when you think about it, the absence of color or light, black darkness, is also really about birthing, about creation.
mm,
Is coming from nothing. It's just really interesting how they've been sort of twisted around, and why it's really the end. Of all the stuff being blended in,
yeah,
and
it's
you've got
completion.
nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would
Oh,
absolutely
this
agree with
is my nonsense, but anyway, I'll sort of chip it in.
it. Right on. No, I appreciate it. So, lyrics. Somewhere there's a choice being made for the mass by the will of a broken few, guided by the hand of the guilty, praised as a cure for a curse. When really this is all catastrophic, and we're tethered to the hull of a sinking ship, thrashing for a breath at the surface, praying for the ropes to slip. I always knew that the damned would inherit the earth. As soon as they learned to speak, we would be suffering, sucking on the scraps of a wicked wealth. We were bound by need to vicious villainy. Tear it down, start again, erasing every trace so stale scars can mend. They will sing, the way things used to be, the way things used to be, the way things used to be. I always knew that the damned would inherit the earth. As soon as they learned to speak, we would be suffering, sucking on the scraps of a wicked wealth. We were bound by need to vicious villainy. Tear it down, start again. So, with harsh bass, distorted vocals, and instrumentals that seem to writhe and slither, the song's composition is a good representation of the black vibe Crescenzo was going for in this EP, and is very reminiscent of Orwell's Animal Farm. The song describes the cycle of societal rule. Under the rule of the corrupt, the power hungry, the masses will eventually revolt and overthrow the government. but no matter how much they try to reform the system, it almost always circles back around to the same hierarchy as before. So there you go. That's the meaning of the song. You were kind of pretty much, without saying Animal Farm, you were pretty much getting the vibes and the ideals behind that lesson, the lesson they're in Animal Farm. So
When you
yeah.
when you were reading out the lyrics there, I just couldn't help but picture this as an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. The Picard's beamed down and go, "What the hell have we got ourselves into
Yeah.
here?"
It would definitely make a
Civil
good.
War and all that sort of stuff, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Or even earlier than that, like a Twilight Zone episode or something like that, for sure, for sure. Yeah, but in all honesty, and I'm trying not to be biased here, but I think Casey Crescenzo is one of the most brilliant musician songwriters of my time. And what he can do is almost like a great screenwriter, but he chooses music as his medium rather than someone like a Nolan might choose to write and create via film. Really, really smart guy, and he just all the different stuff that he's put out is super great. So, I'm a big fan of the color spectrum because you can kind of dive right in no matter where and get a good taste of these guys' talent and capabilities and where they're coming from without needing to know gobs of backstory and all the stuff like you get with the music and the acts, which is stunning music. But I mean, a lot of explanation is involved and it become quite cumbersome and boring for those that may not be interested. So thank God for the color spectrum. Thank God for Casey Crescenzo. I'm glad that you gave this a listen. You enjoyed the performance in the song. Maybe not to the degree you have some of the other stuff, but there's still obviously some talent going on here, and it's really fun to watch live performances play out and all that stuff. So thanks for giving it a listen, John. I really appreciate it. Guys out there in the listening audience, let us know what you made of this track, of this band, if there's other stuff that we should check out by them, if any of this reminded you of anything you've heard before. I'm sure if you guys are regulars here, you probably heard some of the other Deer Hunter stuff that we've done on here. But please, yeah, whatever you want to, drop down in the comments field. We love interacting with you guys and seeing you interact with each other. Also, please think about liking, sharing, or subscribing. It really helps us appease the algorithm gods here on YouTube and get our content out to others, which in turn brings new people onto the channel and perhaps new music too, because we do our Friday episodes where you guys get to be a much larger and more integral part of the operation. So thank you so much for doing any of the aforementioned. We really do appreciate you guys. All that out of the way, hopefully John and I will see all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.